Alrighty, where are we? Oh, alright, fine. How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Yud Zayin, Daf 17 of Masechta Gittin. Friends. Alright, we're finishing up this B'fanei Nechtam stuff. Well, we're not, but we're finishing up that Mishnah, which is a good thing, I think. And then we're getting to a new Mishnah, which is Taka, very, very interesting. I don't think this daf should take too long, and hopefully I'll be able to focus. Okay. Now, it says the Gemara, so Echad Omer B'fanei Nichtov V'shnayim Omer B'faneinu Nechtom kosher. If one person says B'fanei Nichtov, one person says B'fanei Nichtov, and then two individuals say B'fanei Nechtom, so we say it is kosher. Amr Reb Ami, so Reb Ami says something taka interesting. Amr Reb Yochanan, Lo shanu elo shaget yotze mitachas yad eid ksiva. So that when we say that when one of them says B'fanei Nichtov and two say B'fanei Nechtom, it's kosher, that's only if the shaliach is the one who says B'fanei Nichtov, Denaisu kishnayim alzeh v'chishnayim alzeh. That by the Eid Ksiva saying B'fanei Nichtov, and then you have two witnesses, and that's the Shaliach, and you have two, and we believe the Shaliach, right? The Shaliach is believed as if he was two, and so you have the B'fanei Nichtov guy saying B'fanei Nichtov, and he's the Shaliach, so he counts as if he was two, and then you have actually two people saying B'fanei Nechtom, so then it's like you have two and two. Aval mitachas yad Eidei Chasima, but if they Yidei Eidei Chasima, but if the guy who says B'fanei Nichtov is not the Shaliach, so then Apostle al muksaver shnaim sheviu get b'medina sayom tzrichin sheyomer b'faneinu nichtav b'faneinu nechtam. So it sounds like if you have two people bringing a get from Medina Sayom, you have to say b'fanei nichtav. They have to say b'faneinu nichtav b'faneinu nechtam. And if you don't have that, it doesn't work. Which is why if one person says b'fanei nichtav and two say b'fanei nechtam, it would not work unless the person who's saying B'fanei Nichtav is the Shaliach, in which case he counts as two, and then there's another two, so then it's like they said B'fanei Nichtav, B'faneinu Nechtam. Right, it's at least that there's two and two. Amli Reb Asi, so Reb Asi says to Reb Ami, Helmiata Reisha Dikatoni, so when it says in the Reisha, Shnaim Omrim B'faneinu Nichtav, Ve'echad Omer B'fanei Nechtam, that if two say B'faneinu Nichtav, and one says B'fanei Nechtam, Posel, the Chacham say it's possible. Buddha says it's kosher, but the Chacham say it's possible. Va'afilu get yotze mitachas yidei shneim pasli rabbanon. And even if the two who said b'fanei nichtav were even if one even if they were all, or even if one of them of the Eid Ksiva and of course the single Eid Chasima were sent by the husband, still would be possible because they're not saying b'faneinu nichtav b'faneinu nechtam, right? Two of them are saying b'fanei nichtav, but only one of them is saying b'fanei nechtam. Amar Le'in, he says that is correct, since they're not saying b'faneinu nichtav b'faneinu nechtam. The rabbis would say it's possible. Zimrin ashkechei de Yosef v'ka'amar, but then on a different time, Rav who is this? Reb Asi, right? So Reb Asi found Reb Ami. And Reb Ami said that afilu get yotze mitachas yidei eidei chasima kosher. That he's saying basically the opposite. That if you have one saying b'fanei nichtov and two saying b'fanei nechtam, and the one who says b'fanei nichtov is not the shaliach, still it is kosher. So Amok Sover Shnaim Sheviu get Mimdina Sayam Ein Tzvichin Shomer B'faneinu Nichtav U'B'faneinu Nechtam. So that would imply that if you have two witnesses coming from Medina Sayam, they don't need to say B'fanei Nichtav U'B'fanei Nechtam, since we're saying B'faneinu Nichtav U'B'faneinu Nechtam. Since we're saying that if one of them says B'fanei Nichtav and two of them say B'faneinu Nechtam, it would be kosher, even though they're not both saying, right? They're not saying B'faneinu Nichtav U'B'faneinu Nechtam. So Amalei Reb Asi says Elameata. So if that's the case, Reisha de Katani, when it says in the Reisha, Shnaim Omer B'faneinu Nichtav, that if two said B'faneinu Nichtav, Ve'echad Omer B'fanei Nechtam, one says B'fanei Nechtam, Posel, the Chacham say it's Posel, Rabbi Yehuda Machshir, Taima, De'ena Get, Yotze, Mitach Sidei Shneim. The reason why it's Posel is because you don't have they're not all the Shaliachs, right? But Haget Yotze Mitach Sidei Shneim, if they were all the Shaliachs, so then Machshir Rabbanan, so then it would be kosher, because you don't need to say b'fanenu nichtav b'fanenu nechtam. Amalei he says. So Rami says yes. V'alzimnin lo amart lon hachi, but the last time you didn't say that. You said that they would have to say b'fanenu nichtam b'fanenu nechtam. Amalei yasidu shelo tamot, and he says no. The second one is the right one. That you don't need to say, that they don't need to say b'fanenu nichtav b'fanenu nechtam, and that is that. Okay, fine. Yeah, that was a little confusing at the end. But now we get up to a new Mishnah, which is kind of interesting stuff. Says the Mishnah, Nichtav bayom v'nechtam bayom. If the get was written during the day and signed during the day, balayla v'nechtam balayla. If it was written at night and signed at night, balayla v'nechtam bayom. If it was written at night and then signed the following day, which of course we know in Yiddishkeit that the day follows the night. It's all the same. It would technically all be the same day. So kosher. In all those cases, it's kosher. But bayom v'nechtam balayla possible. But the Chachamim say that if it's written during the day but only signed at night, and technically the night is already the next day, so then the Chachamim say that's a problem. But Reb Shimon machshir. Reb Shimon Taka says it's okay. Shohay Reb Shimon Omer, that Reb Shimon would say kol Gittin shenichtavu bayom v'nechtamu balayla, that in general, documents that are written during the day and signed at night, psulin. That's a problem because they're different days. But chutz mi Gittin noshim. But when it comes to a get isha, so then it can be written during the day and signed at night. So if you have a get written during the day and signed at night, the Chachamim say it's possible, but Reb Shimon says it's taka kosher. Itmar, it was stated. How come, says the Gemara, how come we write the time in the get? How come that's important? Why can't we just have a document that says so and so and so and so are getting divorced, and that's that? When was it written? Who cares? Why is that important? So if Machlokes Reb Yochanan and Rish Lakish, Reb Yochanan Omar Mishum Bas Achosu, Rish Lakish Mishum Peris. Bam param. So Rabbi Yochanan says because of Bas Achosu. Who could tell me what that means? What it means is that, let's say you have a guy and he's married to his daughter's sister, his sister's daughter. Right? He's married to his niece, Batson. And then his niece does, for whatever reason, she's mizaneh, and it's his sister's daughter. He has rachmanis. It's his wife, his sister's daughter. He has rachmanis on her. So he says, you know what? Okay, obviously we can't remain married anymore, but I also don't want you to be strangled to death, which is the punishment for adultery. So he says, look, let me just write you a get. I'll write you a divorce document. I won't write any date on it, and then if they come and say, hey, did you have an affair? You're going to say, no, look, I'm divorced. And that's that. And they won't be able to say, yeah, but when did you get divorced? There's no time on the document. She got divorced before she was mizana. That's that. So after the fact, right? If we didn't write the time on the get, so then you could just make up whatever time you want. And she could say that she was divorced at the time that she was mizana, even though she wasn't. So therefore we have to write the time on the get so that we know at what point she actually got divorced, and she can't claim to have been divorced from earlier. And Reb Shimon says Mishum Peris, which is that the husband, which we learned a shtickle about in Masech, not a shtickle, we learned about in Masech Ksubis, that a husband, when he's married, he can, there's, right, Nichsei Tzon Barzel and Nichsei Malug. Nichsei Malug are property that the wife retains, they're her property, but the husband can get benefit from the payer. So for example, if she has an apple orchard, it's her apple orchard. Right? If the apple orchard, doubles in value and now it's worth twice as much as it was when they got married, that, it's her real estate. That it's her value. It's her appreciation. But at the same time, the husband is allowed to eat the apples. He could sell the apples. He could do whatever he wants with the apples. But if they get divorced, obviously she keeps the apple orchard and he can no longer get benefit from the apples. So in this case, so Rish Lakish says that the reason why you need the time on the document is to know at what point can he no longer benefit from the fruits. And so in this case, right, the husband's interest is to put, if there was no time on the document, he could claim that, oh yeah, the document was much later than it actually was, and all the while he's doing business with the apples and making money. So therefore we need a time on the document so that we know exactly when the document was written and when he can no longer benefit from the fruits. Rish Lakish matayim lo amak Reb Yochanan. How come Rish Lakish doesn't say like Reb Yochanan that it's about his niece? So Amar loch znus lo shchicha, because Rish Lakish says, look, znus is not super common, and therefore that wouldn't be the reason why we have to write the time on the get. And if Rabbi Yochanan, my time below Rish Lakish, how come Rabbi Yochanan doesn't hold like Rish Lakish? Kasaver yesh lebal peris ad shas nesina, because Rabbi Yochanan holds that the husband, right, that it's not the when the get is written that prevents the husband from doing business with the fruits, right? It's not that, the get says it was written on such and such a date, so from that date, the husband can no longer do business with the fruits. That's not true. He can continue doing business with the fruits until she receives the get, at which point they're divorced. But until then, he can continue doing business with the fruits, and therefore, the time on the get has nothing to do with the fruits, because he can continue benefiting from the fruits until it's given. So the time isn't related to the fruits; it's related to the znus. Now, says the Gemara, Bishlome l'Rish Lakish mishum achi kamachshe Reb Shimon. So according to Rish Lakish, who says that the time on the get is all about the peiros, so then that is why Reb Shimon says that if you write it during the day and sign it at night, and the night's technically a different day, it's okay, because all it means is that from the time, right, and Rashi explains that according to Reb Shimon, from the time that he makes up his mind that they're going to get divorced, he can no longer a little excitement upstairs, but Reb Shimon holds that from the time that he already makes up his mind to get divorced, so he can no longer benefit from the peiros, and therefore, so sure, if it's written during the day and signed that night, already from that day already, he can't be benefiting from the peiros, and therefore, that's why Reb Shimon says that it's kosher if it's written during the day and signed that night. So again, Rish Lakish, I understand according to Rish Lakish, who says that it's about the peiros, Mishumachi Kamach Reb Shimon. That's why Reb Shimon says that if it's written during the day and signed that night, it's kosher, because according to Reb Shimon, once he makes up his mind to get divorced, he can no longer get benefit from the peiros, and therefore, if it's written during the day and signed at night, it's kosher. Rabbi Yochanan, according to Rabbi Yochanan, who says that it's about znus, so then my time at Reb Shimon demachsher. How come Reb Shimon says that if it's written earlier than it's signed, it's kosher? That's kind of what we're trying to prevent. We're trying to prevent a situation where the get is going to have an earlier date than when it actually was given, was when it actually happened. So Amalach Rabbi Yochanan. Amalach Rabbi Yochanan aliba de Reb Shimon lo ka'amina. Says, look, I'm not talking about Reb Shimon. Yes, I agree. Reb Shimon talks about Reb Shimon is about peiros, right? So Reb Shimon is about peiros. What I'm saying is that according to the rabbis, it's about znus. Ki kamina aliba de Rabbanan. B'shloma de Reb Yochanan. I understand Reb Yochanan hainu deika bein Reb Shimon de Rabbanan. So I understand according to Reb Yochanan, I get the machlokas between the rabbis and Reb Shimon. The rabbis are talking about znus, and therefore they say that. You want to say anything?
Hello, everybody.
My dad says hi. Do you have anything to say about Rabbi Yochanan and Reb Shimon and znus and peiros and time written on the get?
Nope.
Not yet. Dad, remind them to keep quiet for another 10 minutes.
Yep.
Thank you very much. All right, what do we got over here? Some books. I like reading books. You like reading books? What books are these? I read them. Truth is, I read all those books. Okay. Anyways, the Rabbanan, the Bishlama, the Rabbi Yochanan, Hanadika ben Reb Shimon, the Rabbanan. Oh, so I understand according to Rabbi Yochanan, that's the difference between Reb Shimon and the Rabbanan, right? So the rabbis say that it's possible because they're all about the znus. Reb Shimon says that it's kosher because of peiros. Rish Lakish, my ika bein Reb Shimon and the Rabbanan. But according to Rish Lakish, that it's all about the peiros. So then, what's the difference between? Dad, you didn't ask the people to be quiet. All right. Anyways, you definitely did not ask the people to be quiet, and I don't want to raise my voice because I'm so drained from before. Okay, Rish Lakish, I might have to raise my voice. Rish Lakish, my ta'mayika bein Reb Shimon l'Rabbanan. But according to Rish Lakish, that if it's all about the peiros, so then why does the rabbis say that it's possible and Reb Shimon says that it's kosher? So what's the difference? So l'Rabbanan peri de mishas ksiva vad chasima ika beinayu. Wait, what? My ika bein Reb Shimon l'Rabbanan. The nafkamina is the fruits from between the time that it's written until the time that it is signed. That according to Reb Shimon, from the time that he makes up his mind to get divorced, he can no longer benefit from the Paris, and therefore it is kosher if it's signed during the day and written at night. But according to the rabbis, however, he can continue benefiting from the Paris. According to Reb Shimon, right? So according to Reb Shimon, from the time that he makes up his mind to get divorced, he can no longer benefit from the Paris. But according to the Chachamim, he can continue to benefit from the Paris until the time that it is signed, and therefore, there would be a problem if you have. Right, so you might assume that if if the document was written during the day and signed at night, so you might assume that it was written and signed on the same day, and you would assume that the date written is actually when he was no longer able to get benefit from the Paris, but that's not true. He was actually still able to get benefit from Paris until it was actually signed. So therefore, the rabbis say that it's possible if it's written during the day and signed at night. So, if you look at the top of the Omud, right? If you look at the very top of the Omud, right? We had said, Rabbi Yechanan, my time Rish Lakish. How come Rabbi Yechanan, who says it's about Znus, how come he doesn't hold like Rish Lakish, who says it's about Paris? So, Ksovi Yesh Lebal Paris Ad Shas Nesino, because Rabbi Yechanan holds that the husband still can benefit from the Paris Nichse Melug until the time that the get is given to the wife. So on that, but we learn fakert. The Itmar was stated, in the Paris. At what point can she claim that he's not allowed to sell the Paris, and she can take him back? So Rabbi Yochanan Omar Mishas Ksive ho. So Rabbi Yochanan says from the time that the get is written. Rish Lakish Omar Mishas Nesino. Rish Lakish says from the time that it's given, whereas at the top of the Omar we said fakert. We said Rabbi Yochanan says Mishas Nesino. Ipuch. Flip it around, and I guess say that Rish Lakish says Mishas Ksiv and Rabbi Yochanan says Mishas Nesino. Omelei Abai Rav Yosef. Now Abai says to Rav Yosef, Gimel Gittin Psulin. There are 3 Gittin that are Psulim. V'mnisa Savlad kosher, and if you get married, and if she gets married, the Vlad, the child is nonetheless kosher. And one of them is a get that doesn't have the time on it. So Ma'hu'ilu Chacham B'Takanosan. So if anyways, without a time on the get, it's who's here? Without a time on the get, who's that? If anyways, without a time on the get, it's kosher. So then what's the point? So then who cares? So well, it matters because of lichatchila, right? You're not going to be able to find a scribe to create a get for you if without a time. So where am I? Wait, where am I? No, 1 second, not yet. Can you come back in like 5 minutes? Thanks. Okay. So Gittin Psulim Nisas Avlad Kosher. And therefore you're not going to be able to find a scribe who will write the get for you. So Gazi Lizmandide Viavanile Mai. So what if you get the scribe to write it for you with the time in it, but then you cut it out and give it, right? So meaning we're saying that if the get doesn't have a time in it, so then it technically works. So we're saying, well then what's the point if it technically works anyways? Well, you're not going to find anybody to write it, but okay, so to find somebody to write it with the time, then just cut it out, because we're saying at the end of the day it doesn't actually need the time. So Amar Lei, so Rav Yosef responds, we're not concerned about people being sneaky. Kosovo Shavua. What if it doesn't say the exact date that it was written? What if it only says the 7-year cycle in Shemitah, right? Shemitah is 7-year cycles. So if you just say which 7-year cycle it is, but you don't get any more specific than that. Shana, or just which year of the 7-year cycle. Chodesh, which month of the year it is. Shabbos, which week it is. But you don't say, any more details. That's about as detailed as you're going, is just to say what week of the year it is, but it does, or the month it is, but it doesn't say what day of the week. So Hamalei kosher. So Rav Yosef says that's fine. So what do you benefit if literally you could just say that this person got divorced within a 7-year range? Well, it works in terms of, that she wasn't divorced before then, and if she, had an affair before then, she wasn't divorced. And in terms of after that, in terms of the nichse milug, that after that, the husband definitely can't be getting benefit from the nichse milug. So dilo tema, if you don't say like this, yoma gufe, miadinon imitzafra imipanyo. So, right, even if you do write the day, you don't know. I mean, what was it in the morning? It was in the afternoon, right? If she had an affair, and it just says that that day she was divorced. Maybe was she divorced before the affair, after the affair? But it does. We don't go to the day seems to be enough. So you're also the 7-year cycle seems to be enough. Okay, El Yom Dekami Yom Tebasrei Hochanami Ahani the Shavua Dekami the Shavua Debasrei. Right, so therefore, right, it'll for in terms of the day, it might not work within the day, the time of the day, but it'll work that she was still married the day before and that she's not married the day afterwards. So here also, she wasn't married the 7-year period before and she's not married the 7-year afterwards. All right, peace.